Welcome. Thank you for joining me on The Fight with Depression, the podcast where I speak honestly about the reality of mental illness. The topic for this episode is something that's been pressing on me for a while, but I didn't feel like I was ready to speak about it. And honestly, it's kind of a struggle for me right now to speak about it. I had another topic lined up, but while I was working on it, I felt like I was trying to force it. And then I felt pressed to speak about this topic that I didn't feel ready prior to speaking about what I had in mind. Now I realize the discussion of success should precede the topic of discouragement. So we're going to be looking at what it means to be successful. Even though I think right now I may be better to speak on discouragement. But before I begin, I just want to let you all know that I'm changing a couple things up. I've changed my microphone and my recording program that I'm using, my editing program. So we're going to see how this goes. Let me know your thoughts. If it's easier to hear me, harder to hear me, if it doesn't matter. This just kind of helps me so that I really don't have to do these podcasts while sitting in my closet anymore, hopefully. I'm also hoping that the editing is going to be a little bit easier on this so that I can get these out a little easier. And I was having some issues with dropping some of my edits, and some of the sections that I had deleted just came back into the podcast. So I was kind of struggling with that. So we're going to try this out, see how it goes. And it's so far it seems to be a little easier, but we'll see, and we'll try and keep this as we go. So it might seem odd that a podcast focused on mental illness would address the topic on how to be successful, but by the end of the episode, I hope it's going to be clear. In my previous episode, I stated that I'd like to address the why first. Why am I addressing this topic? Why is it important? So the reason that I wanted to dive into the topic of success is because I don't know that people really stop to think about what it means to be successful. What does it mean to you, and what does success look like? Eric Thomas says, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you will be successful. And if you haven't listened to him, I would suggest doing so. You can Google the quote, Google Eric Thomas. It's one of his more listened to speeches, I believe. I haven't listened to everything from him, so I'm sorry if I'm stepping on his toes in this at all, or if I contradict anything that he's saying. But listening to him, I've learned to push myself toward my own success. If I want to continue to reach more people, I have to put more focus on what I'm doing. I have to prioritize this over television, social media, etc. But what does it really mean to be successful? To have more money, a better career? I've known very successful people who struggle to pay the bills, and wealthy people who I wouldn't consider to be successful. Does it mean to be happy? So I like to go fishing. I speak about it a lot. I write about it. I wrote a blog post about my recent fishing trip with Revital, Colorado, where we didn't catch any fish, but I still thought it was a successful fishing trip. So what does a successful fishing trip look like? Is it catching a bunch of fish? Is it catching one large fish? Is it being able to relax? Or is it going with somebody and making a connection? My wife and I go fishing, and I considered it to be successful if we just spend quality time together. So this doesn't look the same as success at work, however. If we get a fire, we aren't successful by having the crews spend quality time together. There's a task that has to be completed, and it has to be completed well. So does the end result mean success? We don't make any more money when we're putting out the fire. So does that mean that wealth does not equal success? If it does, how much? Do you have a defined amount? If not, you're never going to have enough because you'll just keep looking for more. If your idea of success is to have more money, then you will never be successful because you're just going to want more. So what's your amount? Does it mean spending more time with your family? What does that more time look like? If you're looking to just spend more time, then you're always going to want more time. And that's not a bad thing, but it can be detrimental if your ideas of success is spending more time with your family and you feel like a failure because you always want to spend more. You always want more. So you need to be able to be happy and content with what you have. So putting out a fire, we're not gaining more money or anything, but we are gaining more experience. So then does experience equal success? At work, we were assigned a video created by Jason Russa with burnout mitigation and recovery titled Flow, Stress, Learning, and Growth. And in that video, he talks about skill level versus challenge level. And he speaks about why we can feel apathetic or anxious or etc. But he also gets into how we get into a good flow. We feel more fulfilled when we're challenged and we have the skill level to meet that challenge. But if the challenge is too high and we don't have the skill level to meet the challenge, then we start to feel anxious. And on the opposite end, if our skill level is really high and we aren't challenged, then we start to get bored. And you might say that this is all situational success. And this is just success in the moment. And there's a difference between situational success and life success. And I'd say that's true to an extent. So Matthew 25:29, which is echoed in Luke 19:26, in the parable of the three servants, Jesus says, "To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away." And in Luke 16:10 says, "If you are faithful in little things, you will be faithful in large ones. But if you are dishonest in little things, you won't be honest with greater responsibilities." So does that mean that if I take care of my truck, I'll suddenly acquire a newer, nicer one? I wish. But when we work toward success in little things, we're more likely to be successful with larger tasks. If you do more than your job requires, then your boss is going to recognize that and give you more responsibility. More responsibility doesn't always mean a good thing or a bad thing. But when you prove yourself time and time again, then you're going to start to gain more recognition and ultimately be more successful. In The Horse and His Boy, C.S. Lewis writes of Shasta, "He had not yet learned that if you do one good deed, your reward usually is to be set to do another and a harder and better one." If I push to give hope to one person to keep them from giving up on life, I should expect that more will be demanded of me. Situational success is to get people to listen to my podcast, read my book, read my blog. But if I view life success to be more demanding, and if I want to be successful more than I want to breathe, I will continue to do more podcasts. I'll write more blog posts. I'll write more books. I'll speak at more events, despite feeling discouraged when I don't feel successful because I'm not yet where I want to be, or I have not yet met my end goal. Too often we look at a snapshot of where we want our lives to be versus where we are at the current moment and say we aren't successful. Our current success isn't measured by comparing our current situation against our goals. Our current success is measured by how much we have grown since our past circumstances. It's only then that we can push forward to be successful in our goals we have set for ourselves. If we strive for success while training at work, we'll be more successful on a fire, and our careers will be more successful. And listening to speeches by Eric Thomas, I try to push myself more toward my own success. If I want to continue to reach more people, I have to put more focus on what I'm doing, and I have to prioritize this over television, social media, etc. If you want your relationship to be more successful, put a higher priority on it than on your phone. The number one cause of your lack of success is you. Many people would rather complain about their failures than to be successful. I mean, after all, misery loves company, right? We want to feel sorry for ourselves and we want others to feel sorry for us. We look at someone else to blame for our failures, but we refuse to listen to sound advice. Proverbs 13:13 says, "People who despise advice are asking for trouble. Those who respect a command will succeed." And Ecclesiastes 10:10 says, "Using a dull axe requires great strength, so sharpen the blade." That's the value of wisdom. It helps you succeed. And I'm talking to myself in this pretty much like every other podcast I do. I really need to listen to what I'm saying on my own. So don't think I'm speaking at you. I'm speaking with you. I've said that before. Because we all need this. We all need encouragement from each other. We all want the secret to success. We read books, listen to podcasts, attend conferences on how to be successful. But there isn't any secret. It's about dedication. What does being successful mean to you? And what goals do you need to meet to get there? Will you know what success looks like if you find it? If you don't know what it means for you to be successful, you won't recognize it when it falls in your lap. And if you aren't willing to put effort into your own success, nobody else will. Your failure is not their fault. But when you push yourself to succeed, you will find that people are willing to help you along the way. Learn to differentiate good advice from sabotage, and surround yourself with wise people, because not everyone wants you to succeed. But above all, don't give up. And until next time, God bless. Thank you for taking time to listen to my podcast. Thank you to those who've been sharing it with other people, people who need to hear it, and people who just enjoy. Or if you want to read any of my blog posts or get a hold of me at all, you can go to thefightwithdepression.com. If you want to email me, you can go to the contact page and just email me from there. I check those frequently, and I just want to say to everybody, just thanks for listening, thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you next time. Sorry it took so long to get this episode out. Life's a little hectic, so thank you all for listening.